Welcome to our first video in our Scratch Skills series. In this series, we're going to look at different skills that you can incorporate into your code. In our first video, we're just going to do a brief introduction where we look at the layout and the navigation of Scratch. So let's begin. So the first thing to look at are the sprites. Now the sprites are just objects that can interact with your program. Now it always starts with a cat as a default, and you can always use him for whatever you want to do. But let's say you want to add a new sprite. Well, you've got these four options down here for new sprites. One is you can take a photo on your camera and upload that. You can select from the library of sprites that come with it, and I'm just going to choose one of these. I'm just going to go with the elephant, and you can see it brings it in. You can draw your own sprite, so I'm just going to draw a quick little circle. You can draw your own sprite, and you can also upload from the internet. So if you save an image to your desktop, you can then click it and upload it to your Scratch project. So that's your sprites, and that's how you get them in. Now each sprite has a few different options of things you can do. The first you'll see up here is it says scripts. And this is where you can load in different scripts for your object to do things. Now we'll look at these a bit more in detail in just a sec, but just to begin with, we're going to look at events. And so I can bring in here that when I click the flag button, something will happen. And just so you get an idea of what the script one does is if I put it on the cat, you can see now he moves every time I click the button. Okay, the next one we look at is costumes. And here's where you can have fun mix and matching with your sprite. So I'm going to go the paintbrush tool and maybe the color red. And you can see I can change the color of the sprite. I'll give him a red body instead of an orange one. There we go, I'll leave his head. Let's give him all red. So you can see I've just changed the color of the sprite. So you can play around with costumes. Obviously the ones that you've already drawn, if you select them, you can then change them as well, as you can see. The last thing is sounds. And this is where you can put sounds on your character. So the cat comes default with a meow. But you can choose up here different sounds to put in and so on. So that's how we actually use our sprites. So these are just objects, and we put code on them via the scripts window. I'll bring that up a little bit. The other thing we want to look at in this video is backdrops. And over here you see it says stage 1 or stage 1 backdrop. Just telling me I've only got one backdrop to work with at the moment. You're always going to start off with a white one as default when you start your program. So what I'll do is I'm going to add a new one, and you've got the four options just like up here. So from the library, draw your own, upload from your computer, and take a photo. I'm going to go to the library, and I'll just choose one that'll do, and click OK. And you can see now I've got a new backdrop. Now I can always go back to the old one, and later on we learn how you can flick between them via the code. But for now you can see that I've just got two backdrops. You can edit these again if you want to by going up to your edit, and you can draw in here, draw your backdrops and so on. But for now, we just need to know that the backdrops exist and we can upload them from the internet. So that there is your navigation of your backdrops, how to add a new backdrop in, and also the sprites. The last thing to look at here is just the scripts. So when I click on my object or my sprite, you can see I get different scripts for each one. So each one's independent. So if I just code on the cat, whenever I do that, the cat just moves. Let's say I click on the elephant and I put in another one, and maybe this time we'll say turn. Now that's saying when I click the flag, he's going to turn 15 degrees. This one here says when I click the flag, he's going to move 10. So every time I push this, he's either going to turn, or he's going to turn and he's going to walk forward, as we can see now. Okay, so they're still independent, but all that's happened is I've told them to do individual things, and I've linked it all to the flag. So that's how our scripts work. Now in the next few videos we're just going to go over all the basics. We may as well explain them in this one. Our motion is all for moving the character around. So you can set him to wherever you want. So if I push that and go 0, 0, and I might, just for the rest of this video, I'll delete the extra ones and go to a regular backdrop. Okay, so whenever I push this, he's going to go back to 0, 0, being the middle of the screen. So there he is. goes back to 0, 0. So everything in here is something to do with turning or moving your character or your sprite around. In events, everything in here is to do with triggering how he works. So say, for example, I had when space key is pressed, move 10 steps. Well, now every time I push space, he moves 10 steps. And every time I push flag, he goes back to the middle. So it's all about triggering events in your code. So when I click this sprite, we'll get to that one in a second. Looks, this is all about how your character looks. So most of it, at the top here, it's all about your character saying something. So when I click this sprite, say hello for 2 seconds. Hello, 1, 2, close. Okay, and everything down here, I mean, you can have show. When I click him, let's go hide first. When I click him, he hides. And you could also have, when I click him, he shows. Oh, I've lost him. Okay, that's fine. I can go down here where I duplicate delete. You can also go show and brings him back. When I click him, I switch to a new backdrop. He changed color by 25%, so you can see he moves around. So it's all about the color or the look of him. You can also change his size to, let's say, 70%. So if I click him, he goes to 70%. So this is all to do with how he looks, what he says, that kind of thing. Your controls, and this is where we get to sort of the core of programming here. This is what's called iteration. And this is how you can loop code. You can have things running forever. You can have conditions. They're actually called selection. And so I can bring these in and say forever move 10 steps. Which means when I push space, he's going to move 10 steps forever. It's just going to keep repeating. So there he goes, up till he hits the wall. So this is all our iteration. We use a lot of this later on in the videos, but for now you just need to know it's here and it exists. You can also have a wait in there. So when I hit play, oh, what happened there? When I push space, you can see he's slowly going to move over time because of the wait. And I want to stop that. Okay, so that's controls. Your sounds, well, we talked about that earlier. This is all your sounds. You can add new sounds in here and so on, but we don't use that too much. Sensing is quite important. This is how you can tell if he's touching the edge, if he's touching a color, sense when a button is pushed, sense when the mouse is down, so someone clicks. All of that stuff is done in sensing. We don't use pen very much, so we'll just move on. Operators are very important too. So this is how you can, these go into other things. So for example, I could put this in here. So wait 1 + 1 seconds. It comes in handy later. Right now, oops, sorry, spacebar. Right now it doesn't look too useful, but later on we'll learn how to use them properly. It's very useful. And the last one is our data. Now this one is how we make variables, which is another core concept in programming, which we use a lot. So they're the most important ones. We use all of those. The more blocks you can do, but that's a bit more advanced that maybe we'll get to at the end. The rest of them we do use quite a bit. Probably the most is the events, the sensing, and the operators, and probably the motion, just to move them around. So in this video, we've looked at the navigation, where everything is, how to add new sprites, how to get sprites off the internet, which is, you just save them and upload them. And we've looked at backdrops too, how we can view all of our backdrops and how to make new ones, all of that kind of stuff. So that's the end of the first video. For all the rest of the videos, they should be in the title what the skill is we're looking at. So say you already know about variables and how to work with them, well then just skip to another video, find a skill that you don't know how to use and go from there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.